Hey friends, it's Jill here with the Hometown Homestead, and this week something happened that hasn't happened to me in quite a while, and I ran out of my garlic powder. Now, with a bumper crop of garlic from my last planting last year, I decided that instead of making that purchase, I would use what I had on hand to go ahead and make my own. Now, I have to tell you, halfway through this process, I thought, maybe it's worth it just to buy it. But after I made my first little round, I can tell you, oh my gosh, nothing tastes as amazing or smells as amazing as garlic powder that you made in your own house. So without further ado, let me show you just how we get into this and how you can do the same thing at home, making your own fresh garlic powders and garlic salt so that you have something fresh and delicious ready every time you're ready to go with a recipe that calls for garlic powder. All right, so to get into this, the first thing that you have to do is weigh out 1 pound of garlic. Now, I went ahead and weighed these out still with the skins on, just took the full clove and put them on my scale to see what I actually had and what I needed. Once that was complete, I went ahead and broke all of the cloves apart so that I had individual cloves instead of the large bulbs to work with. To get the skins off, this can be a little bit time consuming. So I recommend chopping off the end of the bulb itself and breaking apart all of those individual cloves, then tossing them into a mason jar. Now, once you're at this point, just do a few cloves at a time and give them a really good shake and continue that process until you're pulling out cloves that don't have any skin left on them. Some of them might need a little extra shaking, while others will be ready to go as soon as you get them out of the jar the first time. Continue this process until you've gotten through that entire pound of garlic, and like I said, can take a bit of time. Once that's accomplished, go ahead and grab all of those cloves, and you can either rough chop them in your food processor until you have little bitty diced chunks of garlic, or you can go ahead and thinly slice them. I chose to slice them just because I knew it would work faster in my dehydrator. Go ahead and thin slice all of those cloves of garlic. If you have a mandolin slicer, that could take it a little bit faster for you perhaps, but of course those come with a little risk of danger. I decided to go ahead and use my chef's knife to just chop these puppies up. So once the garlic is completely sliced, then it's time to go ahead and put those out on the dehydrator trays. Now, I have an Excalibur dehydrator. There are several different options and different dehydrators that are out there, but mine has been super successful for us and dehydrates at really low temperatures. So if you're looking for a dehydrator, definitely give this one a look. There's some other newer ones on the market at this point too, but this thing is a workhorse, and I can go ahead and proof my bread in there when I need to, which saves us a lot of time. If you do not have a dehydrator, that's fine. Just use the lowest setting of your oven and make sure to keep your eyes on it really carefully, because one thing you don't want to do is burn the garlic. I laid all of the garlic out in a thin sheet on my trays and then went ahead and shoved it into the dehydrator itself. We checked the garlic frequently throughout the day just to see how the dehydration was going. It can really vary just depending on the moisture content of your garlic, so make sure to keep your eyes on it. As you can see, I have a little help in the kitchen today and often, so my little one was joining in the process. When your garlic is complete, you want to be able to just break it very easily or snap it in half so that your really thin pieces of garlic are, then at that point you know that they're dried. After your garlic has been completely dried, put all of the pieces into a pretty large mason jar. I'm using a quart here with an airtight lid so that I can make sure that it gets conditioned. Now, this is a step that sometimes people neglect a little bit when they're dehydrating things, and it can cause really big problems with your powder caking together or with just something not being completely dehydrated. So make sure that you do take that extra week, which I know can be hard, but you need to condition it. And what that means is put it in the jar and then once or twice a day, come by and give the jar a good shake. If there are still items stuck to the bottom, it's not done. And this will change as the days progress. I did have to do some more drying after my garlic had been conditioned for a while. I went ahead and put the garlic back in the dehydrator for another couple of hours to finish off drying. What that conditioning process actually does is it distributes whatever moisture is left in some of the pieces pretty equally to all of the contents of the jar. So at that point, it's a lot easier to finish the drying process than to just try to pick out the pieces that are completely done one at a time. After my second dry was complete, I went ahead and put them back in the jar. Now I did this for another day, coming back for a good shake every once in a while, just to make sure that that dehydration process was fully completed. The following day, after I dried it the last time, I needed to make a taco soup that my family really, really loves. But one of the ingredients in it is powdered ranch dressing that you get in the packets at the store. And I have been in the process of converting everything that I used to buy of that sort to my own blend that I can make at home. But I really wanted that authentic ranch flavor. So I loaded up my girls and ran to our local store only to find that they were completely out of the actual ranch that I wanted to use. So back home we came and I needed a half teaspoon of powdered garlic. Now, since I didn't have any completely finished, I did go ahead and dip into my jar and go ahead and powder some up at that time. It was absolutely amazing. And as a side note, if you want that powdered ranch recipe or you want to see how I make all of my spices and seasonings at home, make sure to leave that below, because if that's something that you're interested in, I'd love to make that content for you as well. All right, so now I have some garlic left in my jar. And the reason I didn't powder it all is because I wanted to show you how I did it. And at that time, I was not ready to record in here. My kids were going crazy. And I wanted you to see exactly how it's done. So I grabbed this little coffee and spice grinder off Amazon. There's several different kinds and they're relatively inexpensive. I'll link this one below, but I think it was like 20 bucks or less. So all you have to do is take the top cover off, and it's got a little blade down there. You can use a regular blender if you have one powerful enough, but I like something separate for my spices. I keep this on hand and grind peppercorns a lot when I need fresh pepper. And it just makes everything taste better to have it super fresh. Oh my gosh. I wish you guys could smell this because it's super good. All right, so I'm going to dump just a small portion of my garlic in here so you can see how this works. The majority of this I am going to keep in slices and only grind it when I need or run out of what I already have ground. And that will help to continually keep any garlic. And that's going to help me to keep it this as fresh as possible and to prevent any caking that might happen in the jar if I just go ahead and keep it in my slice form until it's ready to go. So I'm going to pour in maybe a quarter cup into my spice grinder, maybe a little more than I wanted. I'm basically just covering the bottom. You can see my blades down there. And then I'm going to put this lid back on. The middle lid, which you can see my garlic powder that I just did the other day. This is really important because this prevents all the powder from flying up in your face the minute you remove the container. And the way this grinder works is by pressing down. So you need both layers of protection in there to make it work properly. So this is a little bit loud, but I want you to see exactly how quick this takes. You can kind of pulse it and you can hear it starting to break everything apart. I'm going to use this middle lid to like peek through there. I still have some pretty good clumps left, so I'm going to keep going. All right, now I'm going to let this go your way. You see that powder? That's not smoke, that's garlic powder coming up all over my kitchen. You can see it in here also. That's why you need the two lids. But check this out. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Now, it can get a little down in under your blades, but check this out. Talk about fresh and delicious. If you wanted to make garlic salt, you could do that as well. Just add the amount of salt that you like in your own powder. But this for me, once I realized how amazing it was fresh compared to what I was getting at the store, the little bit of time that it took to slice all of that garlic up, get it on those trays, and then go ahead and condition it and wait the whole week, it was all worth it. And like I said, had this garlic on the shelf. Now that that's complete, I'm going to go ahead and jar it up into my little garlic jar. I keep these over on my refrigerator. They're little magnet jars, and it makes it really easy to find when I'm cooking. So I'm going to get this all in my jar, get it over on the side, and I'll be ready to go. Other spices that we make at home include taco seasoning, fajita seasoning, chili seasoning. We also have steak seasoning blends that we've used before. So all of that can easily be made at home without going to the store and paying $6, $7, $8 a jar if you just have a few basic ingredients. So again, if that's something that's interesting to you and you're looking for ways to cut back a little bit on the budget while still keeping a lot of good flavorings in your house, definitely consider it and let me know below because I'd love to get that done for you. Get the final amount right here in the jar. All right, lid on, and we are ready to go. I've got my garlic refill. Thank you all for stopping by the Hometown Homestead. If you're interested in any more content about homemade, homegrown, and homeschooled, make sure to hang out because I have a lot more coming your way. Thanks again for stopping by, friends. I'll see you back really soon.